Hi guys, welcome to 12th video tutorial of J2W. In this tutorial we are going to discuss about how programmatically we can connect a database using Java application. So the driver we are going to use is the thin driver. So thin driver we are already aware how it looks like. So we just need to have a Java application and a JDBC API which actually contains the database connectivity classes and interfaces. So with this, our Java application actually imports these library within Java application, and the other one is we need a database. So a database can be anything, either different types of databases we have in market. So you can use any database, MySQL, Oracle, or DB2, anything we can use it. And we need a middleware which is used to communicate with database. That's called a driver class. So we are using thin driver here. So with this we can able to communicate with the database. So what and all will be there in client machine? Only the Java application and the thin driver will be there in client machine. So these about the thin driver, how actually looks like. So we're going to implement the same thing in our programming now, and the database we are going to use MySQL because we already installed MySQL in our machine. So I'm just using MySQL database. You can choose any database at your choice. So these are all the details we want. So let me go and prepare. So what are all requirements we need for a Java application to connect to a database? Programmatically, we can see it now. Let me clear this. Or let it keep it as it is. We can put these things later, we can delete it. So the first thing is for JDBC programming pre-requirements. So the pre-requirements, what are all the pre-requirements we want to code using Java application? So the first one will be the driver class. Let me type from here. Driver class. So this driver class actually depends on the database. Suppose if you have MySQL database, then you will be having MySQL driver. If you have DB2 database, then you will be having DB2 driver class. So in our case, we will be needed a driver class which is MySQL database, MySQL driver. So where this MySQL driver class will be there, this is actually available in thin driver of MySQL. It's provided by MySQL or Oracle. So Java JDBC jar, you can get it from Oracle website itself. So with that you can able to communicate. For few databases you will be having separately the database vendors itself providing JDBC driver. Suppose MySQL actually providing their own JDBC driver to communicate with MySQL databases for Java application. So likewise we have drivers. So for MySQL we'll be having MySQL driver class within thin driver of MySQL. So the second one will be the connection URL, which actually contains like which host this database belongs to. Suppose this MySQL database is hosted in some 10.20.123.29. Suppose these the host, these the IP address the server is hosting, or if it is in different host like Facebook, if it is a host is Facebook, or if it is installed in my machine, if it is local, then it will be localhost. So depends on where your database is alive, depends on that the host will tells us. So the host thing, you just need to know where the database is alive, whether any particular IP address it is alive, or any particular host name with the Facebook or Google or anything. Or if you're having your own website, then it will be your own website host name. Or if it is installed in your local like this, then it will be localhost. And again, one more thing you need, that is port. Port is again, suppose even different softwares will be installed in your machine, so each application will have a separate port. Suppose if you have MySQL database with 9090 port, and you can install some other software. Suppose you can install other databases like Oracle DB with 1010 port, and each application will be installed in the same host but the different ports. So each application will have a unique port number, so that application will be recognized and accessed. The port is like 9090 or 1010, or in our database when we're installing, we gave the port is like 3306. So any port you can give it at your choice when you're installing a database. So what are the port you configured when you're installing a database, that port you have to mention. Suppose if you are installing MySQL in this particular IP, then you have to not only these ports, any port at your choice, you can give any number of ports, but the ports are actually having 4 digits only. And so these are all mandatory details, host and port. So for connecting JDBC in our JDBC programming, we just need a driver class. Along with that, we just need host plus port. So with these details we can form a connection URL. So what connection URL will have? Host, port, and the DB name. So the DB name will be like a product DB we created, right? Either that one or any DB at your choice, whatever you created. So this DB, the connection DB. So whatever the DB we have to mention. So one database will have multiple DB objects, and we can use any DB objects. So within DB objects we'll be having tables. So if you see the JDBC first tutorial, there you can see all these details. So for connection URL, we just need host, port, and DB name, which DB we are going to use. The third one will be username and password. So we need these details as well along with the connection details. The reason is, suppose if you're when you're connecting, I'm just closing this connection, I just want to reconnect it. See here, you can see the host is localhost for our database and port is 3306. So in our case, we have to choose host is localhost and port is 3306. This is what we configured when we installing database. So when you connecting a database, it will prompt for password. So we just need username and password. That is the reason we mentioned in background saying we just need username, password along with the connection details. I'm just giving password. So with these details we can able to communicate. The first one is host and port, which is actually forming connection URL, and username and password. Along with that, we just need a driver class, which is actually provided by the database vendor, or we can get the JDBC driver from the Oracle website. So these are all the pre-requirements we need. Now we can see the steps to connect a database. With these details, what are the steps we have to follow to connect any database? Let me clear this diagram. For now, we don't need these. Let me keep this side. These two also. So these are all the pre-requirements, and this is about the description about them. Now we can see the steps to connect a database using JDBC. So these are all the standard steps to connect any database. So these are a very important question in interviews. Interviewer will ask, so tell me the steps to connect any database using JDBC. Let me separate. So there are 4 steps you have to use to connect any database using JDBC. The first step will be create driver class object, and you can load it to the JVM. So either of creating database driver, and you can load it to class loader, and you can do it in one step, that is called loading class driver class to JVM. Load driver class. The second one will be create connection object. With connection URL. So the connection URL what we discussed already. The third step will be create a statement. Create statement object. The fourth step will be create result set object. So these are all the 4 standard steps you have to follow whenever you're using JDBC programming for any database. These 4 steps are standard. The first one will be you should load the driver class to JVM memory. That's the first step. So depends on what driver you're using. That's the first step you have to follow. Then the next step will be you should use connection URL for creating connection object. So this connection object actually requires the parameter as connection URL. The connection URL will contain the host, port, and DB details. What are the DB we are going to connect? And create a statement object. So which will actually useful for calling your SQL query. Suppose what are the query you have written here. So select star from products. This actually we can pass it to statement object. It will actually execute that statement and it will actually get the result. So once we get the result, then the result will be stored in result set object. So these are 4 steps you have to follow. Once we got the results from result set, we just need to loop the result set and we just need to print the results. That's it. So let's go to the Eclipse and we can create a Java class for this, and we can try it in practical. So our intention is to, what are the results we are getting here? So for select star from products, so we got one record, right? 1001 and pen and red. So these data, we just want to get it in Java application. I just want to print these up data in Java console. For that, what I'm doing is, let this project as it is, and I'm just creating a new project for JDBC tutorial. Keep the Java 8 or any version is fine for JDBC. Click on next. Keep the SRC as it is. Let me finish it. So I just created an empty project which is actually having no classes. So now I'm creating a class which actually connects to this database, MySQL database. I just want to get the records from products table. And I just want to perform all other operations as well, not only the select operation. I just want to perform all other operations as well along with the select query. Let me create a class. I'll name it as MySQL JDBC, or I can name it as JDBC example. Let me keep some package com.jdbc is fine. Click on finish. So I just created a class with JDBC example name. So let me have on main method. So now I'm ready with my application. So now I just want to connect to this database. For that, what we have to do, the first step will be class start for name to load the class. So we just want to load a class, right? For that, what we have to do, first we have to do class dot for name. The way to do this is class dot for name, and you just give the driver class. What are the driver you will be using? That driver class you have to give com.mysql.jdbc.driver. So these the class which MySQL is providing. And make sure, guys, when you're writing any IO programming like files handling and all, you should handle the try catch mechanism. And even if you're writing any database connectivity also, make sure you should write what are the code you're supposed to write. You just keep it in try catch block. So that's a important topic you should remember. I'm just writing a try catch block where I can keep my code inside a try block. So now I just mentioned class start for name for MySQL driver. So do you think this driver is available in our class? No, actually, because this nowhere we have this class in our project, so this is not at all accessible. So this actually throws error when you are running this application. So let me go to the next step. Later we can get to know how actually it is throwing compilation errors. The next step will be creating connection object with connection URL. Let me go and create a connection object over here. Connection, which is from java.sql. So this is the package you have to use. Connection con equal to. So there is a class which actually create you the connection object, which is the driver manager. So these is also from java.sql. Driver manager. See, this is also from java.sql. Get connection. So this get connection will have a different properties taking. One is from URL, and the URL, this one parameter is used for Microsoft JDBC ODBC driver. If you are using, you have to use DSN details over here. That is the reason for that particular connection it is used for single parameter which is used for JDBC ODBC driver. The second one will be URL. The URL, it is taking two parameters. One is connection URL and the properties. Properties means it is a properties having key pair values, like how our hash map will have. So that kind of properties object you can create and give it to the connection object. But in our case, we just need connection URL and username and password. So these are how we declared in our presentation. So connection URL, we have host and port and a DB name. So these are all the details we have. With this, we can able to form the connection URL. One is connection, the URL we can form it, and username and password we can pass it. So that's how our pre-requirements are given. So let me choose this method. It's actually having connection URL and username and password. So I'll be giving connection URL as, so this is the standard format of having a connection URL, JDBC colon. So the database, what are the database we are using, that database you have to mention. In my case, it's a MySQL colon. Next one will be the port. So what is the port in our case? So the host and port, sorry. The first one will be the host. So what is the host here? It's a local host. Suppose if you see here, let me close this so that we can see. So the host will be local host in our case, and port will be 3306. You can mention the host and port over here. Local host. The port will be 3306. Apart from that, what we have. So once we have the driver class is declared and connection URL is having host, port and DB name, and we need to pass username and password. And DB name where we have to mention only here. So products DB, and the username password will be username what we have, it's a root. So root, I'm giving the password. The database whatever mentioned product DB I have declared in the Java code. It's a product DB, not products DB. So the username is admin. I think product name is root. The password will be admin. So what are the username and password you have given when you are installing database? That credentials you have to give it here. So I just gave the connection details like connection URL. This is called as connection URL, and this is username and password. So because it's a MySQL database, I just mentioned JDBC MySQL and the host name and port and the DB, which DB tables are supposed to access. That DB you have to mention, and the username and password. So the two steps we have done in this. The first one is loading a driver class, and second one is connection object. The third one is creating a statement object. Statement is also from java.sql. This statement object actually created from connection object, connection dot create statement. So that's it. The fourth step will be create result set object. Result set rs equal to, these also from java.sql. The result set also from java.sql. This result set actually derived from the statement object, st dot. So in statement object you will be having a set of methods. Suppose if you want to execute any query like select queries and all, you can use execute query. And if you want to execute any procedure, so you can use string SQL. This method you can use it, which is actually called for stored procedures. And if you want to execute any batch, so the batch we can see it in further tutorials. So it's kind of executing multiple select queries or multiple multiple SQL queries at the same time. That's called as a batch. So the batch you can able to do it, and so there are different methods are available. Execute update, if you want to modify any data within database tables, so then you can use execute update. So these are all the different methods are available. Max rows, you can use it for getting the number of maximum rows are available within the table. So you can try trial and error, you can do it later. So there are other metadata methods are also available. We can see it in later. For now, we just need to execute a select query. For that, I'm choosing this execute query. Here you just write what are the query you have written here. Select star from products, which is actually returning the results. You just need to copy that query and put it in your execute query. That's it. So far we just created the result set object. So we have done with the 4 step. The first one is loading a driver class. So we just loaded the driver class and creating connection object with connection URL and the admin, the user and password. The third step will be creating statement object. That is also done, and creating a result set object. So now what we have to do, we just need to print the results. For that, what I'm doing is I just want to loop through the result set. I just want to print the results. For that, what I'm taking is I'm just taking a while loop. Here I'm just mentioning rstart next. Next means it will actually fetch each and every rows of the record. It will actually the result set almost equal to the table structure. Suppose if you have a table like this, so if suppose this is having 10 records, so the result set also looks same. Actually it looks same like how the table structure, the same way the result set also contains the data. So what I'm doing is result set dot next means whatever the cursor it is showing, it actually comes to first place first, and once this is printed, then if you call result set dot next means it will come to second record. So likewise it will go through one by one. Result set dot next. So when I'm next until it is not failed. If rs dot next is true means it is actually the record is available. If rs dot next is false means there's no record, then it will actually come out from the loop. What I'm doing is I just want to print the data. This out rstart get. So our result set will have get methods which actually contains the data type. So what are the data types you will be having? Suppose if you have data types like product ID is having number, so the code will be string, and the name will be string, which is varchar. Quantity is int, and the price is float. So we have different data types here. We can get it depends on data type also, or we can get it with the index also. If you see get boolean, if it is a boolean data type is available in database, that particular column, then you can give boolean. Or if you have float, you can give it as float. Int we have, and long we have, string we have. If it is an object, then you can have object. So you can have get index as well along with these things, and you can have index as well. See, get into of column index. If you give the index itself, you can get the data, or the column name. Whatever the column name if you have, that column name you can give it. So different types are available. Let me get the data. Let me get the product ID and product code and product name. These three I just want to print it now. Get int of, either you can give column index or column name. Let me go with the column name. What I'm giving is product ID. So make sure whatever the name it is there, exactly you have to give it. The next one will be, it's a string. I'm just giving product code. For that, what I'm doing is just copy pasting. It's a string. Get string of, the name is product code. let me get one more data, which is already start. The next one will be product name, which is string again. Get string of the variable name is name here. So that what are the column names are available, that names you have to give it here. So likewise you can get the data. Let me run this example and we can see the result, what a result will be getting. So before running this, we just need to check whether this driver, what are the driver we mentioned here. So this is actually JDBC MySQL driver. So this particular dependencies we haven't added. So when the compiler is loading this application, the first step it will actually check whether the driver class is available or not, and it will throw that error. We'll see that. It simply says the class not found exception JDBC driver, because we haven't added any dependency, and because of that it is showing that error. So what this driver class is actually, in our example, it's about the JDBC driver. If you remember the JDBC diagram, thin driver diagram. So we'll be having JDBC API and we'll be having thin driver over here and database. So far what we covered, we just wrote our Java application and JDBC API. So the JDBC API is about our imports. What are the imports we have done? So these are already available. So this we injected. There's no problem with that. And database we have, so which is MySQL. And we just need a driver for MySQL. So this we haven't added in our project anywhere. So we just have a database at localhost with the port 3306. Then the text is not appearing. So with this port we have a database, and so the JDBC API we injected, and driver we should inject, otherwise it will throw class not found exception to load this class. So the resolution for this is, which we should have this library is available. What we have to do is we just need to download JDBC MySQL driver. Let me go to Google and download MySQL JDBC driver. MySQL JDBC driver, just go and download the driver. You can check where these also available from outside sources like java2s.com, and let me go to the MySQL website itself to get the MySQL JDBC driver. So you can see it in the results here. Like either way you can get it, Maven repository or the MySQL website itself. So once you get in any source, then just go to jar file. Once you click on jar file, you can able to download it. So these are one source you can able to download through the Maven. The other one will be, you can go to the MySQL website, there you can able to download it. So either of one you can able to download the jar and you can reuse the jar. So I have already downloaded the jar, it seems. So let me extract this. So I just extracted the folder. I'll be having MySQL connector.jar. So this jar is sufficient for me to add it in my browser so that I can avoid that error. Let me go to the Eclipse, go to project, right click, go to the properties, or directly you can go to the build path, configure build path. So here I'll be adding an external jar which is from my MySQL connector, or this one you can choose it. So I just added MySQL connector.jar, apply and close. So I just added MySQL connector in my libraries. These actually contains all the classes like driver class and all will be there in the MySQL connector. Let me extract it. So the package will be com.mysql.jdbc, JDBC jars. In these set of classes will be used for communicating with MySQL databases. So these are all the set of classes that will be providing. So it will contain the driver class also along with these. So it's a com.mysql.jdbc.driver. So driver is a class, it's a directly available. See, so this is the class we have in our project now. Now we can run this program, and it will actually, this driver class actually internally uses all these dependent classes to communicate to database. So let me execute this program. So our intention is to print the results. What are the data we have it in the database? These results we just want to print product ID, product code, and product name. So the results will be 1001 pen and red pen. These things we just want to print it. So let me re-execute it. Run as Java application. Now it's establishing connection. Seems some column we mentioned a wrong name. That's the reason it's actually establishing connection establishment is done, and we given some column name as wrong. That's a product ID. It is telling column not found. It's a product, instead of D I put C. Let me put the same here. Typo. See, now I got the results. So we got the product ID, product code, and product name, which is red pen. So these are the first step. I can say these are very basic tutorial of executing JDBC. So make sure, guys, you should remember these steps properly. The first one will be the JDBC pre-requirements. Once the interviewer asks, then you should tell him, like, we just need 4 details as a JDBC pre-requirements. One is driver class. So it depends on the database. We just need a driver class. If it is MySQL, we just need MySQL driver class. So the connection URL which you should form. For the connection URL, we should have host, port, and the database name. And we just need username and password. The host will be either of IP address or any particular host. If it is a local, then it is localhost. The port will be when we are installing a database, that port we have to give it. And the steps will be the connecting to a database. The first one will be loading driver class. The first step will be loading driver class. The second step will be creating connection object. The third step will be and the last step will be creating result set. So result set is exactly equals to our database structure. So these are all the 4 steps we have to follow to connect any database. And with int, whatever the result set dot get in, we wrote, right? Either we can give uh, the column ID or column name or the index of the column. Suppose if we give a particular column index, suppose if you want to print it, so let me try that also. Rs start get int of, I just want to print this quantity, that's index will be 1 2 3 4. The 4th index I'll be giving, instead of giving quantity I'll be giving index 4. So I'm just giving index. So here the 4 will be index of column, here the product ID will be name of the column. So that's the difference. Let me re-execute this. See, now we got the 4th column, which is 5000, which is the 4th column element. So that's how you can able to query. Either you can use column name or you can use the column index. So either of one you can use it and you can able to get the data. That's it about a very basic tutorial of JDBC programmatically. And the next tutorial we can see so what other operations we can do, like insert, delete, and update queries, and even the create table and all, how can we perform, we can see it in next tutorial. Thanks guys, thanks for watching.